Over the last few weeks, we have an incredible journey together. We started this advanced AI engineering playlist by understanding how LLMs work. What exactly do we mean by transformers? What's the core architecture of it? Then we talked about different interesting concepts with a core implementation. For example, we discussed about AI agents, we discussed about tool calling, we discussed about RAG, uh, we discussed about how we can integrate multi agents and what exactly a production based project looks like. Now, we have reached to a final stage of this playlist where we will be talking about something called as MCP. The full form of MCP is Model Context Protocol. Imagine uh, a scenario where we were not having USB available with us, and before that, in our system, we have to use different cables to connect different tools, and it was kind of difficult for us to manage everything, right? And then USB came with just one click we can put multiple things together, right? And things will become very seamless for us. Same thing happened in the world of AI. So we came up with a problem that we have different external tools, we have different external applications, we have external DBs, files, and the problem was that to integrate everything, we need different frameworks, we need different ways. And after some point of time, uh, developers, researchers gave a thought that why not to create a protocol, a rule which resembles with what USB does for the systems. And that is where model context protocol will come into picture. Today, in this specific discussion, you will not only learn about what is MCP, how they are created, but eventually you will see that what exact problem they are solving for us. So please make sure you will watch the discussion till the very end. And those people who want to deep dive with me and learn more about these concepts in detail, this week only on Saturday, my cohort on AI engineering is going live. I will be going live at sharp 9 a.m. IST and discuss these concepts from scratch. So if you are someone who feel that live interaction with the mentor is important for me to cater this learning, please go ahead and roll into the course. This is your last chance. And I'm not planning to go with any second version of this course in this year, at least. So if you are interested, please have a look. The link of the course in the description of this video. And now watch this discussion. Listen it very carefully. Implement the stuff. Do share this video. Do subscribe to my channel because a lot of amazing concept further coming up in this channel. And make sure you will hype the video as well. With that, let's get started. The full form of MCP is Model Context Protocol. Okay. Now, what do we mean by protocol? Anyone having any idea? What do we mean by protocol? It's a common word which we use in the industries. So any idea about it?
It's something like a rule book.
Rule book, right? For example, HTTP is a protocol. We know that if, let's say, there is any number like 200 appearing in my screen, in my console, it means that this is a status code that whatever command I have hit, it gets successful, right? So, rule book, set of rules, guidelines, whatever you guys are saying, that all are absolutely correct, right? It's kind of synonym of all these words which we are talking about, right? Now, what is this MCP? How it became a rule book in the world of LLM? That is what we have to understand. It is also rule book only. It is also standard only. But how? That is the actual thing which we have to understand. Imagine that you have built an application of AI assistant. Okay? You have built an application of AI assistant. This application can answer all the questions. So there are multiple things this application can do. Few of them are it can answer all your questions. Okay. Apart from this, let's say It can help you to write the emails. It can help you to summarize the PDFs whenever required. And you're very happy with this assistant because the kind of work which is it is doing for you, it's quite awesome. It's quite good, right? But then let's suppose that one day your manager came and your manager said, so he's your manager, and he came and he said that, hey, can you just ask from your AI assistant that, uh you know what is the today's sale, what is the today's sales from our SQL dashboard. You have a AI assistant, so maybe it will be able to do the specific stuff also. You praise a lot about your AI assistant that it will help you to do your job in a very easy way. So can you just do this specific thing for me? Can you just ask from your AI assistant that how much is the sales happened today in our company? And then you will be very demotivated because you know that your AI assistant is not capable to fetch the real time data. Okay, then your manager understand your face, and your manager said that, oh, I think it is not able to give me the today's sale. It's completely okay. But I have another task for your AI assistant. So can it help me to create the Zira tickets? Again, you will be very sad because this is something which cannot be done via your AI assistant. Then again, your manager read the face and your manager said that it's okay. Maybe it will be able to fetch the files for me. So, can it fetch the files from Google Drive for me? Then again, you feel very sad because you know that your AI assistant is not having that capability also. So basically, the problem was ki whatever instructions your manager was saying that maybe your AI assistant can do it, your AI assistant was not capable enough to do that. Your manager said that can it book the meetings for me from Outlook? Again. So you know that whatever be the four instructions, maybe your manager has asked for, somehow it was not viable, it was not feasible for your AI assistant to give that. Maybe this one. But is that possible as per our knowledge with respect to LLM? Is that possible that we can advance this AI assistant to do all of these tasks? What do you think? What is zero ticket? I think the people who work in industries, they might have used it. This is usually a very helpful tool exactly to create the tickets, stories, and to track the complete progress of the project, to do CI/CD pipeline. Multiple things we can accomplish via Jira. It's one of the in-demand tool. It's not something which is recent. I mean, when I joined the industry almost 7 to 8 years back, first day, first thing which I have to understood at that point of time was this Jira complete interface. So that from those days, I think it was before that only. So yeah, this is the way to track the progress in the companies when we talk about bigger end-to-end projects. Okay, so anyhow, the point is ki will it be able to give these tasks to me? Will it be able to do the task for me? Maybe today it is not having that functionalities. It is just able to answer the questions, write the mails, summarize the PDF. But will it be able to do it maybe in future?
Should be possible if we can give our
Hmm.
AI assistant the tools.
Exactly. So
if we
now,
give him a server.
exactly. So you are saying that, if we add, so right now our AI assistant has LLM, kind of a brain. But if we add their head, leg, and everything, obviously it will be possible. And that is what we have understood in our series, that how can we add those capabilities? How can we standardize the process using LangGraph? How can we orchestrate it? Everything is possible right now, right? But soon I have realized that, okay, my AI assistant LLM is incredibly powerful, is incredibly intelligent, powerful. It knows everything. It knows everything in terms of, we are talking about the brain, right? But the point is, but it cannot do anything given by my manager. ऐसी नॉलेज का क्या फायदा, है ना? ऐसी नॉलेज का क्या फायदा जिसमें नॉलेज तो खूब है पर उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना नहीं आ रहा? ये तो वही बात हो गई कि आपको सब्जेक्ट मैटर एक्सपर्टीज तो है, बट जब कोई आपको बोलता है कोई काम, वेन एवर समबडी टेल यू टू राइट अ कोड और समथिंग विच इज एक्चुअली implementation or showcasing to somebody regarding your skill set, you become silent. It cannot do anything. And now you said that, we can add the capabilities. It's okay. We are in a world where we know about the agentic AI. We know that how can we add the tools. We know that how can we orchestrate the complete pipeline using the concepts of LangGraph and LangChain. I said, okay, I'm happy. You can do that. But the problem was ki, if let's say I need a SQL dashboard access, so there is a different API call which I have to hit. If let's say I have to book the meeting from Outlook, I have to provide a different access to my AI assistant for that. Maybe you can imagine that there will be a different API calls which are happening depending upon which specific thing I want to access, right? So it won't be able to directly access anything. We have to write a different code for everything. And after some point of time, if the requirements are more, which I want to do for AI assistant, it's not that today, if I will, make sure that whatever my manager has asked, I will able to accomplish it via AI assistant. Tomorrow, my manager can come and he can talk about the fifth thing, and maybe my AI assistant doesn't have that capability. Then again, I will have to add something more on top of it. So, what is the one-stop solution for it? It's like a few years back when we work on our laptop, and if we want to attach multiple devices to our laptop, for every device we will be having a different cables. I hope everybody belongs to that era. So in our laptops we do have multiple ports, too many ports I would say. If you will see the older laptops, you will be able to realize this fact. And with respect to every type of device which we have to connect, we genuinely need that port in our laptop only. Right now that problem is resolved. In today's era, if we purchase any new laptop, you will be able to observe that we don't have too many ports, we don't even need it. May I know what is the reason behind it? What exactly is the bridge point right now? How this problem have been resolved? There are
Standardization.
Bluetooth devices, that is true, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about standardization. How is that possible? Extension cables, as mentioned by Ajitish, right? So we do have UCB C type port, and we can just purchase that from Amazon usually. And we know that, for example, I also have one, and I just have connected that in my laptop. Although my laptop contains a few more ports, but they're not usable right now because everything is right now connected with that single device. So that UCP-C device that I am carrying, you can consider that this is a standardization. This is something which is a MCP. So it eventually helped me to connect all the different devices of my laptop. For example, screen is attached, my mouse is attached, my keyboard is attached, maybe my headphone is there. uh, all these devices are single-handedly, handled by that one device, which is UCBC, right? If that was not there, I have to connect all these ports, or maybe after some point of time I'll be like, I don't have further ports available. So you can consider that MCP is not something which is a mandatory thing to have in the firms, but it helps us to avoid the messy part of the code. So in our code part, rather than having a different customization code for every API call and the tool which I am using, now I have one standard MCP. So what will happen is that every other tool, Slack, Outlook, SQL dashboard, everything is connected via this MCP server. And now, rather than I am not directly connecting with any of the APIs, I'm connecting with the MCP server, and I know MCP server has all the access, and it will be able to give me the access to all the different things, which whatever I am expecting, whatever I really want. I hope everybody understand that. So before MCP also, company was running fine. It's not that we will not able to build the stuffs, we will not able to connect the stuffs. We are very good in terms of writing the code. From past, I think 7-10 years, we're writing the code only. So it's not that things were not feasible. It's just that to make it look better, we designed this MCP. So, what was happening before the era of this MCP? It's not that it was there from the start. So, before that, before MCP era, I'm talking about what was happening before Model Context Protocol. The company, every other company, what it was doing is it is building its own custom integrations to connect with third party platform. So, before MCP, every company built their own custom integrations. Okay. This is what every other company was doing. For example, SQL, uh, if I have to connect, maybe I might need, and let's say I want to work with a Google Drive also quite frequently. So I might need the access of the Gmail API. Maybe I might need the access of the dashboard specific API, or maybe Slack if required, and many more tools depending upon my requirement. So every connection, you can imagine, every connection had different APIs. I hope everybody knows about APIs. It's an application programming interface which helps me to connect with these devices. So obviously, for every device, for every tool, I had a different implementation. I need a different level of maintenance. And the most important thing is every project kept on repeating the same work, right? Also, I might need different authentication because these tools require so authentication also. So I have to process that also, right? So that was the thing. And people felt that this is something which needs to be avoided. Can we make something which is a standard one, and once I built it, there is no different authentication, no different implementation, no different maintenance? And that is where the solution was MCP, Model Context Protocol. So what it does, now let me just try to take the era of companies after MCP. So what happened after MCP? After MCP, what happened? As I have mentioned, it's like your USB C type port you can imagine. Before this, different chargers, different cables, different ports, every laptop required different accessories. So if I have to travel, I have to take everything with me. USB C standardizes everything for me. Similarly, after MCP, what happened in the companies is that every other company, every other company now got standardization, communication between the the AI models and the external tools. That is the whole point. That is what is MCP. That is what is MCP. So there is no need now to work on different maintenance and communication part. We have one way to handle everything. So is the understanding of MCP is clear? What exactly is MCP? What exactly it is doing for us? Are we good till so far? Now we will talk about the components of this MCP. But before I'll jump towards that, I really need a quick confirmation from everybody's end that okay, I got an idea what is MCP and why it is required and what exact purpose it is serving in the companies. Are we good till this part? Everybody got this point? And now I hope everybody understand that okay, this is not something which is a different thing altogether, or different concept altogether. It is not even mandatory to have, just like it's not mandatory, everybody might not even have USB-C thing in your home also, right? It all depends on your need and requirement and how many components you're using. If the things becomes clumsy and complex, then only you will have to use it. I hope things are okay, right? Okay, perfect. So now let's talk about the main components of MCP. So if you will see the simple documentations of it now, so if I will just try to open this, I mean, you will after this session find a lot of interesting documentations, and I will definitely suggest you all to have a look onto it because now you know all these things pretty well once the session will get over. By the way, this MCP was designed by which company? This was designed by Anthropic. Okay, this was designed by the Anthropic team. So you can see this articles also. You will find the similar pointers over here. But anyhow, you will observe over here, right? MCP is Model Context Protocol. It's an open source standard for connecting AI applications to external systems. I hope everybody is understanding this definition now. Using MCP, AI applications like Claude, ChatGPT can connect to data sources like local files, databases, tools, workflows, enabling them to access key information and perform the task. See, think of MCP like a USB-C port for AI applications. Just like USB-C provides a standardized way to connect electronic devices, MCP provides a standardized way to connect AI applications to external systems. Isn't it the same thing they're talking about? What we have discussed right now with several examples? I hope everybody is now relating this document, right? Now you can see this. So in between, you will be able to observe there is a MCP, which is a standardized protocol, and in the left side, you will be able to see this is an AI application. It could be a chat interface, maybe a Claude desktop, maybe any ID like Claude Code, maybe any other AI application. And on the right side, you will be able to observe that maybe somebody needs the access of PostgreSQL, somebody needs the access of Google Drive, somebody needs the access of Git, somebody needs the access of Slack. So it can easily access and interact with each other now. I hope this specific diagram is also clear to everyone. Okay. Now I am going to the next part, which is the architecture of MCP. So shall we discuss about it? Uh, I'm looking for some interesting image of this. This is also good, but I'm looking for better image than this. Hmm, 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 hmm. Maybe we can write MCP architecture. And now it, yeah. So I think this is good. This is good. Maybe we can take this one only. Let me open this. So let me try to now take this image. So this is how the architecture of now MCP looks like. So you will be able to observe that it contains three components. I hope everybody can see in this architecture, it contains three different components. How can we distinguish between MCP and Landgraph in different way they are solving same problem? No, no, Landgraph is completely a different thing that we have covered up. MCP is solving completely different thing. Anyone can answer this question before I will try to answer this? So he's asking that how can we differentiate between MCP and Landgraph? Now you know somehow what is MCP. So can you and Landgraph we already have covered up in our previous discussion. So can anyone answer this question by Narendra?
I think basically MCP is a communication protocol, while
Yes.
Landgraph is a framework, is a coding framework.
Exactly. Exactly. Just like in machine learning, you have sklearn. In LLMs, in the world of LLMs, you have LangGraph or LangChain to ease your task so that you don't need to write anything from scratch. You have some, uh, inbuilt module library available. Eh, Internally, there all the predefined functions are there, and you're directly using it. That's it. LangGraph is a agentic AI workflow using only an LLM. MCP integrates external tools that LLM can access using this standardized approach. That's true. Again, yeah. So if you have to see in a layman term, the example which I have shared. So I hope everybody understand machine learning, sklearn that we have covered up. Or in deep learning, we have talked about TensorFlow or PyTorch. So every other module in this complete data science journey, we have the different frameworks. So you can understand LLM's framework as LangGraph or LangChain. Hmm? Clear, Narendra? Shall we move further? All good till so far? Any other question anyone is having? So one thing which Sanjay mentioned few minutes back, whenever you have a different difficulty in terms of understanding, you can just say that it's a communication pathway, right? It is just helping me to communicate in a better way. So that is where the standardization is there. So I think maybe the confusion is there because I'm using this word standardization, and in line graph also we were using this term. But if you understand, the meaning is different for both the standardization terms, right?
You could also like equate it like HTTPS protocol
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
HTTP protocol. It has nothing to do with the coding part of it or any programming framework.
Yes. Yes. There is another interesting question by Manas. I think we have talked about this NET in what is this, but he's asking that is it a type of MCP? The answer is straightforward. Yes or no?
No.
No. So, as mentioned by Jitish, also, it is basically a front end for LangGraph. So, don't get confused between these two components that we're covering up in this complete series of AI engineering part. I hope it is fine.
think I think otherwise the MCP is almost similar to the API.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
it's a way to communicate with a tool.
Exactly. Exactly. That's as simple as that to take in your head. Okay. I hope now things are fine. Everyone, shall we move further?
Oh, ma'am, I have one question on the chat.
Let me check. Even with MCP, we might need different servers for different tools, right? So, what is the advantage? That is something which you will get an understanding, Ajatish, once we will do the implementation today. What is the advantage? But I mean, brief context, if I have to answer, the only advantage is that you will have to integrate only one time. You don't need to do it every time for all the different projects. As we have discussed it previously, we will have to do different implementation, and every project actually repeats the same thing, right? So the it's a very good question. What he's asking is that, Priya, okay, MCP layer you are adding, but still you need a API calls, right? Directly without that, so it is not even feasible, right? You still need a GitHub MCP server, right? You still need a Slack MCP server. So what is the benefit? I can directly call the GitHub API, or in between you are just putting MCP server. So the answer is that over here, I will do one time effort, and I will just showcase you this in a practical way, that why I am saying that it's a one time effort, right? So now inside your application, instead of writing it manually, you what you will do is you will try to integrate this MCP servers, and now you will design hundreds of applications. Automatically those MCP servers are there, and you can just have to connect it just one time. Reusability, you can say, is the advantage. That's true, right? So yep. But these things you will get a clarity once we will implement the stuff, that how this is possible, right? Okay, so now you can see we have three things majorly over here in MCP architecture. First thing is the host. Host is something, you can say, your cloud desktop, your IDEs, whatever code you're writing, maybe VS Code, Codex, or any different IDEs which you're using. You can imagine that. Now there will be a MCP client, and you can imagine that there will be some MCP protocol, there will be some standardization, and with the help of that, there will be different servers for different tool calls which you are doing. Now, as I have mentioned, that once you will create this MCP server, it's a one time effort, and after that, you can add multiple clients. And you know that if there is a need of MCP server with respect to, let's say, Slack specific work, it will directly integrate with that. That's it. So let's try to move ahead, and let's try to see that how the things are happening step by step. Shall we directly move to the implementation now? We understood the components. There will be a host, there will be a client, there will be a server. So now when we do the implementation, we will try to create these three components, and then our task will be done. These three components, in a way, host will be our maybe Claude desktop or VS Code. Client and server file we have to create so that we can have these two things ready, and then only we will be able to work. So uh, before we will directly go with the implementation, let me just give you a workflow so that you will have a better picture that what exactly we will be doing today. Maybe let's say I am asking one question. Let's say the manager's question only. It could be like the sales part which he was asking in the starting of the story, right? So if this is the question, now because you have added MCPs, what will happen is how the interface looks like. First call will go to LLM only. So LLM will give a thought, and LLM says that, okay, this is where I cannot directly answer it. Uh, it needs actually real time information. So it needs a client. A client will somehow call the SQL MCP server, because this is a request for the accessing of the SQL dashboard. So what will happen is it will have a access of a database finally, and as per that, it will be able to access the return the rows with respect to today's sales, And finally, this specific result will go to the LLM, and LLM will help us to summarize the entire result. And that is how the entire picture looks like. That is how the entire picture looks like. I hope it is fine. Is it clear? So, this is a kind of a interface you can imagine for the other three or four questions which your manager has asked. So, shall we do a hands on demo now to understand the entire flow step by step?
Ma'am, one question.
Yep,
So,
please go ahead.
means LLM based on the LLM things, whatever LLM things,
Hmm.
LLM will return the client type also to call which MCP
Yes,
server they need to call.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
It's like previously you were giving the access to the LLM, the tools, and LLM was thinking that what specific tool call I have to make based on the query. Now it is MCP server, right? A bit more standardization context, that's it. Okay, fine. I think now we can start. So today, while showcasing a demo, I will use something called as UV, and I will install everything in Python via this UV command. Did anyone knows about this previously at any point of time? किसी
Yeah, I
ने?
have used it, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's only because certain libraries were not.
Hmm.
I was not able to install using pip,
Hmm.
and the recommendation
Hmm.
ChatGPT said you need to use UV.
Okay. Now the same thing will happen. Same trouble you guys might have when you will go with MCP installation of the libraries via pip. That is the reason in Python, whenever we will do the implementation, you have to use UV, especially when you're working with MCP, right? What is UV? It's similar to the pip part, but it's kind of more lightweight and fast Python package. In fact, in all my recent projects, if you will ask from me, I'm using UV more as comparable to pip because of its advantage of having too much fastness. And there's the reason behind it. Pip in the backend install lot many dependencies which UV doesn't install. And if we have to use it, we have to manually install it. So you can say that it is the lightweight. That's why it's lightweight also. है ना? It's lightweight and you can say fast Python package. And people right now quite frequently use this specific uh, you know, I would say self contained application to install multiple frameworks in their project. So, how the things will looks like, let me just showcase you one by one, and I will keep on writing the command step by step so that if after this discussion you will also try to implement the things, you can easily implement it. Also, whatever things we're learning today, you can try to integrate that also in your project. So, you all have designed a workflow and you all will give the tools access and uh, the different external things access in your orchestration pipeline. So you can use this MCP standardization in your work, which will make your project more inclined towards what exactly industry requires right now. When you add these things in your resume, this will heavily impact in terms of shortlisting, in terms of giving further interview rounds and so on, because right now somehow companies are expecting you to work on these specific things, and if you will work with it practically, then definitely you will easily get shortlisted. There's a very high chance of even cracking all these interview rounds because you will do it on your own step by step, right? So let's try to do one thing. I will do one thing over here. This is the thing which I had done in the morning, so maybe we can do in a same library, but in a different folder. So first of all, I will do UV init MCP impel. Impel is just I'm using a keyword for implementation. As soon as I will just write this, what eventually happens is you will be able to see there is one folder which is ready for you. What kind of output is preferable in the project? Uh, I didn't get the question, Manas. What kind of out is preferable in the project? What is the meaning of it? What kind of output is preferable? It all depends on the requirements. Now there is no as such standardized output that we have, but uh, I mean, usually what they are expecting is a complete user interface where, I mean, you will do the deployment obviously maybe via Streamlit, and you will be having some website available where you can provide a flexibility that okay, they can enter, they can write, and they will be able to get the outcome. Just like the way we have discussed in our last class where learners have done using Flask API, I think, as far as I remember. So we had an interface where we can write the question and we were getting the answer. What should the model be capable of implementing? Again, it all depends on project requirement. There is no as such standard output of it. It all depends on what exactly is the requirement. And is that requirement is completely fulfilled by LLMs only or required some external tools access or not? It all depends on that requirements only. Okay? Then only accordingly you will try to give the uh, powers to the LLM. If there is no need, no requirement to give that as well. Okay, perfect. So now, as the very first step, what I did, I hope you guys have noted it down. I have just simply provided a command uv init and I have initialized MCP impal project. What happens when I did this? You will be able to observe as soon as you will hit this command, you will get the entire project structure. And that's the beauty about UV, which you will not able to get in the pip part. So it creates the target directory, which contains a main file also, which is a kind of a, you can say, bottleneck, which is a kind of a, boilerplate code for you. And on top of it, you can make changes. Uh, Let me try to open this complete folder for you so that you can see what exactly is happening over here. Code dot, as soon as I'll do, it will be able to open a VS code for me. So here you go. You can see that how beautifully it will be able to create all the files for you. This is the main file. This is the pyproject.2ml where all the configuration is there. Mm, okay. This is a README file. You can add it and so on. So these are the structures which are already created as soon as I have run the uv init command. Now I am opening a terminal, and in this terminal, first of all, I will create one virtual environment. So how can we create a virtual environment? I think in my last sessions, I have talked about virtual environment using python-m command. Do you remember that? Python-m venv, the command that we usually use to create the virtual environments. Today, I am showcasing you how can we create using UV. It's quite very simple, UV, and you can write the name of the virtual environment. For example, I'm again giving as VENV. VENV is actually sounds good because of the intuitive sense. V is for virtual, ENV is for environment. That's the only reason. And as soon as you will give this command, let me just maximize this so that you can see it clearly. You will be able to observe that it is done. It's so simple. है ना? Now it is saying that you can just tap this and it will get activated. So I'll just copy and paste it over here. And it shows me some sort of issue. Let me do one thing. Let me try to open a CMD. Okay. It ran now. And you can see this virtual environment MCP impal is ready. So how can you check that virtual environment is working fine now? As soon as in the starting, you will see a bracket. है ना? that is a kind of an indication that okay, now your virtual environment is activated. Now you can start working on it, and whatever be the required dependencies you want to install, you can install always inside your virtual environment. One more thing, sometimes because I usually do the code part you know in the morning, and I already made the installation. So sometimes maybe intentionally unintentionally I'm not installing something, but when you are implementing it, it is saying to you to implement or install that specific package. And then you're referring the live sessions, you'll be like, okay, Priya is not installing it, but it is asking to me. So just have that intuitive sense that maybe her laptop already have that package available, that project already had that package available. That is the reason it was not getting an error. But for me, if it is getting an error, always try to do the further installation and make it ready for you. Okay, everybody's interface is different, and because it could be the case that I have not even installed it today. I usually work multiple times, uh, and this is the system where I usually do a practical implementation a lot more. So that is the most possible reason that it already contains lot many things which maybe your laptop doesn't have. So that is the most possible reason about it. Okay. Why not .venv? That's the syntax. UV the name of the virtual environment. So in our older syntax, we have to mention that .venv as well. But in UV, the recent frameworks, we don't even need that. I mean, as we are progressing, you will observe that the things are becoming easier and lightweighted, and that's the beauty about it. And that's why people are, quite frequently using all these things as comparable to the older ways of uh, creating the virtual environments. Okay. All good till so far. I hope things are fine. Shall we move further? So in our traditional way, it was slow also. It was like 2 to 8 seconds were required to create the virtual environment and to activate it. And when we do it using UV, you will say it's blazing fast. It's kind of in milliseconds, we're getting the results, right? Uh, shall we move further? Nandini, the question was quite big. I will look into it at the very end and will try to answer it. I have seen your first line. So, based on that context, I'm saying let's discuss this at the end. Okay. Shall we move further now? All good till so far? Perfect. Now, what's the plan? If you remember, in our previous discussions, we have created one tool of weather. Do you remember that? Which is actually giving me the real time information of the weather in different cities, right? So get weather tool we have created. So that's a similar thing we have to do, but via MCP server. That's the whole point of today discussion. Where I'm referring this code part, so you can see I'm referring the code part from this documentation. So I'm sharing with you all. You can just have a look onto it. Now, when you also do it at your end, you will be able to observe that everything, whatever code I am writing, it's just exactly copy pasted from here. Let's try to go it one by one, and whatever be the core requirements we have, same requirements we will have to make sure we will also have in our system. So let's start writing the code. So you can see there is a weather.py file that we have to create. These are the helper functions which will help us to get the weather details. Uh, One thing, for now, we are not more concerned about code implementation part. For now, our main focus is key how we need to create a server and how the interaction is possible. Maybe if after that time permits, I will explain you the code step by step. Otherwise, I am pretty sure that if you will check at your end also how the code execution is flowing step by step, because you are very good in Python and all those stuffs. We already have discussed this weather specific part in our previous discussions also. So you will be able to get the understanding at your end as well. So the main focus right now is not to discuss about the code perspective. The main focus is to get the flow in a correct way. Once we get that, then I think coding part is very easy for everyone. And if we have the time also, we'll discuss it step by step as well. So I'm just copy pasting it. That's it as of now. Okay. So Shall we move further? All good till so far? Shall we create the folder now with respect to the MCP server? And are we ready to start the project? No doubts till so far, right, everyone? All good? ठीक है. So I already have the files available with me. First of all, let's create one folder. Folder is server. ठीक है. Inside this, I will create one file, client.py. You remember the component, host, client, and the server. One more file we will be having is weather.py, which is responsible to execute the live weather details. And the last file which we have is weather.json, which contains the properties of, uh, you know, configuration properties of this weather specific file to fetch the real time details. So let's fill these files step by step, and you can refer that document. I have my another screen where I have already opened that document again, and I'm just copy pasting it. Wherever it will showcase me error, I'll install that specific library. So it is just showcasing me two things. Okay. So you can see over here, uh, I have just used this NWS API base. It is basically an API which is helping me to get the real time weather details. This is the user agent, and this is the same code which I am using it to get that API weather specific details in a proper formatting part in a readable form. Okay, now it is showcasing me two things. One is MCP server, another one is HTTPX. So, can you just check what are the two core requirements it is saying to us to import? So, same code you can see I have just copied and pasted it. Same code, same code. I'm just seeing that in terms of installation, what exactly it is required from my end. Is it mentioned over here? I think it should mention. Just let me have a look. Mm, 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 mm. UV add, it is mentioned in the documentation only, MCP CLI. This is the first thing they are saying. So it is added. And as soon as it is added, you can see the issue is resolved. Now, what is this UV add MCP CLI? Any guesses? This MCP CLI, what is this?
The required packages
Hmm,
to run the MCP.
exactly. So you can search in the documentation. I mean, I have just followed in the morning this documentation and everything is being done via that only. So you can see install the dependencies. So if you will just mention HTTPX, it will do that. I have just mentioned MCP CLI. So it has installed all the required dependencies. So in future, if I need something different, which is with respect to MCP, I won't get any issues now. I'm ready in a way. Okay. So done. All good. So this now weather.py, the main purpose is it is just initializing my MCP server to give the weather details in a real time manner. So what we have designed in terms of our architecture, you can understand. So the second step we have done is UVENV. We have created the virtual environment. Then we have activated the virtual environment by saying .venv slash scripts slash activate. After that, UV add install all the required dependencies in one go. If you don't want in one go, you can just import the tools where the errors was showing, but better to go with everything, so that if we will do something different also in our other files, will not get any issue. One more thing we have to add, I will add, is our LangChain OpenAI, because right now I will use a simple LangChain orchestration, so I might need LangChain OpenAI. If you are using Grok, you will have to mention the Grok. If you are using Gemini, you will have to mention the Gemini. Whatever be the API key you are using, accordingly you have to change it. But just like the way in our uh, pip part in Python, we do pip install and we mention the package name. In UV part, we just mention UV add. This is the syntax again. There is no need to worry about it. Why is that? So there is no as such reasoning. It's a way to install the packages which we have via UV. But you will observe that it is much, much faster as comparable to the pip part that we usually do. Okay, now where were we? Okay, so in terms of architecture, I was talking about, you can imagine that now you have just built a single server. Like this, you can build multiple servers, but I'm just, as I have mentioned, showcasing you one demo. This server is responsible to fetch the weather details. That's the whole thing that we have done right now. So we have standardized the process. We have this MCP server, which is actually helping me to fetch the weather details. And over here, we have the host. Now, in terms of host, you can consider that it is a VS Code IDE which I am using, or maybe I will showcase you with the Claude desktop also, considering that as a host. I will showcase you that, okay, when we are writing the command, when we are asking the questions, how it is giving me the response. Host is done, MCP server is done. What we need in between these two is the
Client.
client. So this is the only thing which is left. So we need to create a client. I think you have seen from this documentation of this architecture also. So now you can imagine that over here MCP client we need to create first, and then only we will try to make sure that the interaction should happen, and we can see a demo in a live way. Okay, so let's try to fill that file. But before that, what is this JSON file is doing for us? So you can imagine that it contains all the configured properties of your weather.py file, which is a MCP server file that you will be having. So you can define over here that, hey, I am creating one MCP server. So in my list of MCP servers, right now I am creating a weather MCP server with the command of UV. And this is the argument where you have to pass that this is via MCP CLI run, MCP run. Over here, you have to make sure that you will provide a proper path where exactly your server is present. So over here, my server is present in this specific repository. So when you are implementing your work, you have to make sure that your path should ideally get changed. And this is where you will define the configuration of your weather server, which is available in your system. Now, the only thing which is pending is the client.py file. What this client file is doing? This is where you're first of all establishing a connection between the host and the LLM, where LLM can give a thought that whether the actual need of MCP server is there or not. Otherwise, it could be the case that if there is a question which is based on a factual data, your your client only can respond because it has an access of LLM, and it can revert back the response only. So all these implementations we will do in the client.py file. So how will that be possible? Hmm. Now there is one thing which I forget to do. Let's do it fatafat se. What is that? Any idea? Anyone? So we will do it via our OpenAI. So we need one file as usual, which is .env. So I will create one OpenAI API key, and you need to give me 1 second so that I can just add that. Just give me 1 second. So I have to create it first, and then I have to paste it. I think it is done. Okay. Let me share the code, share the screen now. Okay, done. Shall we proceed further? So, uh, let's do it. So, I'm just again copying it. So, what is happening? Let me just try to showcase a bit about it. First of all, there is some issues coming up. We'll handle it. So you can see load.env os async io, langchain openai, because that is what I'm using, and MCP use, which is helping me to provide the functions of MCP agent and MCP client. After this, that's the only thing. We will load the env file, and then we will use that config file. We will provide the access. I have provided the model name GPT-4o, temperature. Depending upon your creativity level, you can increase or decrease it. And then you can provide the arguments inside this MCP agent. And then you are just providing, uh, taking the input from the user in the client specific part. If this is clear, clear the conversation. I mean, you just have to look onto it. And I personally feel that you guys are quite strong in these things. These are the quite simpler things right now I can say about this. But the only issue is that this error is coming up. So first thing we have to add, let's add first of all that thing only, langchain underscore openai. This is done. uh, MCP use, I have done something for this as well in the morning. There is installation required for this also. MCP. So in the morning when I did the addition part, I'm just writing the commands first of all side by side, whatever I'm doing. So I'm doing uv add MCP use. Okay. So whatever be the issues I'm getting, I'm just doing the addition of it, of those packages. What I was saying is, in the morning when I was adding this MCP use specific library, so what was happening is that it was giving me the error. Right now it is not giving to me. When I realized after debugging that what was the possible root cause of it, then I get to know that the reason was the Python version. So these small things are there which can be an issue in your implementation. So please have a look onto it in a critical way, that why that error is coming up. For example, right now when I'm saying UV add MCP use, it's working smoothly. You'll be like, for me it is giving me an error. Then maybe you will stop working on it. See the error very carefully. The errors are not that much difficult to figure it out if you have an habit of doing the production level codes end to end. These are the common things. It's just that when I do at my end, and when I come in the class, things works very smoothly and people feel that okay, this is quite simple and easy. But it's just that there is a lot of effort went in the back end before coming to the session to take this end-to-end implementations work specifically. So what I did, I'm just talking about that. In the morning I just go over here, and there is one over here there is one pi project.2ml. So over here by default it was 3.10 in the morning, or maybe it was 3.12. I don't remember it exactly. I have changed the version number over here. I rerun the file and things were working smoothly. So that was the thing which happened in the morning. So that's the quick check because it could happen at your end as well. Okay. Okay, this is fine. mm, I think we are fine till so far. So we had a MCP client for the interaction per se. Now, whatever be the query I will write, I know that this will first of all go inside this. It will check if it is being handled by LLM. It can respond back to me. If it is not, it will go inside this MCP server, and MCP server is there. It will give me the response to the MCP client, and it will give me the further response to the user. करके देखें एक बार try. Let's do one thing. Let's try to run this file. Let's see what is the weather of CA, California. Can you see? It is initializing the MCP agent. It is connecting to the services. And over here, it is actually giving me a detail about it. Can you see, everyone? This is one way where you are interacting directly one to one. You are writing a question over here. It is internally using the MCP server and reverting it back to you. First and the foremost way. Is it fine for everyone? Before I will proceed and showcase you the second way of the implementation. Is it okay? Let me end this conversation. Okay, I have interrupted this conversation now. So it will be ended soon. It is ended. Okay. Now, what I will do? This is fine. This is working perfectly fine. I have this weather.py file, right? Let's see what will happen if I directly run this. Mm, should also run. Where I am doing something wrong. Uh, Let me check. There is one more thing I want to demonstrate. Maybe I'm missing something. But anyhow, let me have a look onto it. Let me go to the third way. Second way, I'll have to just check what is happening. So in the morning, I have just installed a Claude desktop and I have tried to make it as a host. Okay. So you can see this is the this is the Claude desktop. So what you can do over here inside the Claude desktop, you can go to file and you will go to the settings. Inside the settings, you will go to the developer mode. When you are doing it for the very first time in the developer mode, you will not have anything. For example, in the morning, I was not having anything because via the Claude desktop, I was just doing in this specific system for the very first time. And in the morning only, I have created this weather MCP server. So there was no as such MCP server which was already there. I went to the developer mode, and over here, I have an option to edit a config file. You will have to click over it, and as soon as you will click over it, it will showcase you the path where exactly this Claude desktop config file is available. When you go and edit this file in a notepad, for example, over here, you can go inside this config file of a Claude desktop. Let me take it on the screen. This is how it looks like. है ना? So what you have to do, you have to make sure that whatever be the weather.json which you have mentioned in the VS Code, see what we have discussed in our pathway. We have discussed in our pathway that we can have multiple hosts, right everyone? We have discussed it could be VS Code, it could be Cloud Desktop, it could be some third party, I mean any other uh, tool as well. So I have just demonstrated you how using VS Code it is working via the client file. Secondly, I am showcasing you via Cloud Desktop, if that is a host. So what you have to do, you have to go to the edit config file will get opened, and you will have to pass that configuration of MCP servers of that weather specific thing over here as well. Then only your Cloud Desktop uh, will have this server available, right? So over here, once you add this, you need to close the entire Cloud Desktop altogether, and you need to reopen it. Once you reopen it and once you go back to the developer mode, you will be able to see that okay, now you have a weather specific MCP server available. In future, if you want to add more MCP servers, you need to just keep on adding those values inside this edit config file in your Cloud Desktop. Once it is done, when I ask this question, what is the weather alerts in CA? Let's ask it again. It is thinking. You can see it is finding the tools, it is getting the alerts, and over here you can see the results. Getting my point? So this is another way. But there is one more thing which I am missing. Just give me now 1 minute. Let me have a look onto it. What exactly I'm missing over here. In the in the meantime, just go through with the things which I have just now mentioned. I have documented maybe somewhere because I used to document whatever things I'm doing. Just let me open my documentation and let me check what I'm missing. Because there is one more thing which I want to showcase to you.
Krishnaik handling mistake. It should be server. Okay, server. Okay. Now once I execute,
Yeah, this is something which I want to showcase you. I got it. So first of all, let me write it down. Otherwise, again, I will just miss this. So which command I'm using? You have to write a command uv run mcp dev, and then you have to specify the path wherever your file is available. For example, our file is available under server. So you will say server. Inside this we have a file of weather.py. ठीक है ना? ये फाइल का पाथ है. बिल्कुल ठीक है. अब जैसे ही आप इसे रन करोगे, it will be able to run the MCP server in your browser, and that is what I want to showcase you. Hmm. So can everybody see this? Everyone can see my screen, right? This is what is opening when I run this command. Now you will see that there is a transport type coming up, and there are two things which I'm getting: stdio and sse. Uh, I hope everybody can see. So, what is the meaning of this transport type? This is important to understand. Transport type in MCP, if you will search. So, you will be able to observe that um, stdio is basically for the local connections. You can obviously have a look onto it, but the two things which you will be able to observe: stdio, local connections; sse for the remote connections. For example, If you are doing something with respect to the cloud based platforms, you will have to choose the transport type as SSE. For now, I think because I'm doing everything in a local way, so I will go ahead with the STDIO, and I'll click on this connect button. As soon as I'll click on this connect button, it is connected. It is connected. Now you will be able to observe that I will be having a resources button, resource template button. Then I will be having prompts. I can list the prompts. I have a button of listing a tools. Now all these things are the things that I have defined maybe in my code, and that's a similar thing you will be able to get. If you have not defined any tools, you won't get anything. Do you remember which tool we have defined in our code? Let me go back. I hope you remember that.
Weather.py.
Weather.py. By the way, this is the decorator to define a tool. I think in every code part in the last discussions also we have seen that we have to provide a decorator. So if you're using it in MCP, so you have to mention @mcp.tool. So over here you can see we have a tool which is get alerts, and this is giving me weather alerts for, let's say, a US state, or for a California, or for a New York. And over here the argument which we are passing as a state is a two-letter argument only. That's the kind of a code syntax which we are providing, and which this documentation was following. So we have just followed the same documentation. So that is the same reason. You can obviously customize it at your end. If I just click on this list tools, now intentionally, obviously, over here you will be able to get those tools which you have defined. So are we getting that same tools? Definitely yes. Can you see the same line? See this? Get alerts, which I have defined in my code. I'm getting that. Get alerts for a US state, arguments, same thing. Same thing. Just now, which I have written. See this? Now you can see. I can see a get alert tool. So it is saying that you can pass any two-letter US state code. For example, I'll pass NY, New York. I'll go below and I'll run the tool. Meaning, this is an interface where you can simply check, you can simply inspect that whether your MCP server is actually working fine or not. That's the whole idea which I want to showcase. So even before executing or running or implementing the client file, once your MCP server is ready and you want to check that whether whatever tools you have defined, whatever prompts you have defined, whatever capabilities you have given to the MCP server, is everything is working fine or not. So the point is, you can refer this command. You can just use this specific command, which is uv run mcp dev, and wherever you have defined that server, the path of that, to check, to inspect that okay, everything is working smooth or not. So as soon as I have run the tool, I'm getting the tool result as success. Ideally, that is the output which we're expecting. So you will be able to get the proper result. It means that okay, my tool is working fine, my server is working fine. Then maybe without any stress, I can go, I can move further, I can talk about the different clients, hosts, and everything. So that is the another thing which I want to showcase. So this is important. Similarly, if I will go back, let me just first of all clear this. I will go back. When I'm doing a list prompt, I'm not getting anything because I think I have not provided any prompt at all. If I'll go to the list resources, you will be able to see, I think resources हमने कुछ provide किए. Let's check. Let's restart. Let's connect. No, I think it's not there. But resource template is there. Let me check the code because I also have copy pasted. Yes. So you can see we have provided some resource template, echo a message as a resource, and it will give me this kind of a message. So that is why when I'm creating, I'm just clicking on this resource template listing part, I'm getting some echo resource. It is giving me a message. I have to enter it. For example, hello, read resource, and you can see it is reading that message and just giving me a text as resource echo hello. That is a simple code that I have provided, right? Now over here, obviously, if you will go back to the same documentation, there are so many different further things that we have. For example, I have copied till so far. If you will go below, this is the same thing which I have copied for weather.json file. You can see this is where I have copied directory, only I have changed over there. And there was one more thing I was showcasing you. There were few code snippets which I have not implemented. You can try at your end, which is about the prompts and the tools part, where exactly it is gone. Maybe you can have a look onto it. Also, you can implement the MCP in all other languages also. But because we were doing everything from scratch in Python, so I think that is the only best way for us to work on it. But I was just showcasing you one more thing. Uh, this is about MCP client. So this is the code which I have used in my implementation part. Again, you can have a look onto the specific code, and wherever you feel that something is missing, I mean, I have just taken a small portions which help me to run the entire thing, but you can obviously add on top of it. So over here you can just have a look onto it. I'm not getting it directly right now, but maybe this one. Yep. So over here you will observe that in this specific documentation of MCP, you will find that they are using multiple resources, multiple tools. I have just now implemented only single tool of weather. But at your home, at your end, this is the task for today. You can try to refer this documentation and try to implement further tools. Try to just add on the multiple resources and the prompts. And you can read about this MCP inspector. This is what we have opened right now. So what it is doing is it is an interactive developer tool for testing and debugging the MCP servers. Just now we have seen this is the tool of MCP inspector, right? This is the tool of that. So what is that exactly? Why we are using it? For example, we have Langsmith, right? To just check that what is happening behind the scene, to monitor everything. For what I can say, MCP servers, this is the debugging or testing tool that we will be having. So you can see how exactly it is working. Although I have showcased your practical demo of it, you can see there's a resources tab which lists all the available resources. There is a prompts tab. Just now we have seen it displays all the available prompt templates. Then we have a tools tab to list all the available tools. Notifications pane is there. Everything you can just have a look onto it. And then over here you will be having a example servers. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We will be having multiple uh, resources to add the servers part. Just have a look onto it. I have just showcased you that how maybe one listing of a tool looks like. Over here, for example, you can see they have a tool definition of search flights. So what you have to do now, you just have to add this tool and then maybe try to integrate it with the Claude code as well, and just try to search about the flights part and see that whether the search flight tool is working fine or not. So you can create an MCP server for this, and then whenever you are asking about the specific flight specific part, ideally the call should go to that MCP server and it will be able to do the task for you. Similarly, you can see travel booking, calendar blocking, email notification, everything for that you will be having the MCP servers. Is it fine? Is it making sense to everyone? All good? I'll share everything obviously just by the end of the class. But is it okay? Are you getting the flow of it? Is the flow is clear how the things are happening over here? Fine for everyone? Okay. Now the same question, which I think Ajitish has asked in the starting, I should not say starting, before implementing all these things. Um, Let me first of all stop the services. Let me just stop this. I want to terminate. By the way, to terminate, you have to enter Control plus C. I hope everybody knows this. And let me clear this also. All the commands, whatever I have used, I have written it down. See this commands part and step by step implement it. Okay. You can refer the session recordings also. Okay, perfect. So he asked the question that anyhow we are adding the MCP server, right? And now we have seen that how we are adding the MCP server. Depending upon what exact tool we have to use, we somehow integrating it as a part of an MCP server. In the Claude code also, we are doing the same thing. We have a config file and we are adding that configuration inside that. Are you getting a sense of standardization over here? Or you feel that this is similar to what we have done in the agentic AI session? We're just adding a tool. I mean, my question is, are you able to relate the difference between today's session versus the last discussion of maybe agentic AI discussion where we just integrate 2 or 3 tools in our discussion? Do you understand the point that why this is called as a standardization process versus that was not the standard? If
Actually,
yes,
it is
how?
it's
Mm-hmm.
quite obvious because we
Mm-hmm.
have created one MCP server,
Hmm.
and we could see using it in VS Code. We
Hmm.
used it in Cloud Desktop,
Hmm.
or otherwise the third way is
Hmm.
by directly running it.
Exactly.
So we can integrate the same server
Hmm.
in different foundation models, or
Exactly.
in different agents, without
Different agents,
rewriting the code.
different projects without doing any rewriting of the code part.
So reusability,
Yes.
as you rightly said, is
Yes.
pretty high in this particular case.
Exactly. Exactly my
And I
point.
think also we could use the third party MCP servers,
Hmm.
which are available with a price,
Hmm.
paid ones and free ones there.
People are using it. Many companies are using it. Many companies are using paid ones. They're paying heavily right now to these MCP servers to do their task in a standardized way. I mean, nobody wants to work in a messy environment. Employees also want a clarity, and they also want a streamlined process. So companies somehow have to pay for it, right? So, yep, that is true. So that is the main thing which you have to understand, that how the standardization is possible. And if you get this point, then after the session will get over, now if you will find, by the way, hundreds of articles on this MCP topic. uh I mean, it's not complex, but if you will find the videos, if you will find the discussions, I mean, after today's live discussion, maybe you will find it easy. But when I learned about it for the very first time, it was way complex the way it was being taught. And that was the way the hype was being generated. In fact, multiple creators in the starting, when this thing was launched, created a course on specifically MCP. So we can make it more complex by just adding more tools. That's the only thing. Now I think you understand that, okay, this is not something different. It is just that which specific things I want to integrate with. That's the only thing. I can make the discussion for 1 hour, and I can make the same discussion for 10 hours as well. What I have to do is I have just integrating the tools in those 10 hours. Why companies are paying for it, what is the whole need of it, why it is genuinely required. I hope that this eventually gives a full-fledged picture for you. Now, the more you deep dive into it, you can refer the documentation. I think the documentation which I have shared now, I have seen from here everything to prepare for today's discussion. This is more than enough, I'm saying you. This is more than enough to implement the stuff, to understand. You can start with get started in the documentation. What is MCP? Then you go step by step to the architecture, servers, clients, versioning. How can we connect to MCP server? For now, you can focus on local part. As soon as you will work in the companies, you can definitely move towards the remote MCP servers as well. Then how can we build it? MCP client, then MCP inspector, then debugging, example of the servers, and so on. You will be, by the end of spending maybe few hours, able to understand and implement the stuff which is being written. Because now we have already seen the live demo of this, things won't be difficult for you. And I don't think you will get errors also, because I already have talked about where majorly we were getting the errors, where I got the errors, right? I still unable to understand below things when we provide prompt and provide MCP tool configuration for a specific tool. Let's say Zira, how AI understand which MCP tool to use through MCP server, where we are configuring these conditions, also how it works internally. Anyone wants to answer this question? Uh, how in the agentic AI world it was understanding this? Can anyone? I mean, if you understand the agents, if you understand the topic of agentic AI, the tools, then this question won't come. And if this question is coming, it means that topic is also not clear. So let me go back to the basics. Let's not make it complex with the word of MCP. My question is, if I had three tools available, how at that point of time when I was creating the tool of whether, I think there was a tool of run command, write to file, three tools were there. When I'm asking the questions of creating a Python file to add two numbers, how it was able to use the tool of, let's say, create a file or write to file tool. Any answers for it? How it was happening? And the same thing today, if I will create, let's say, Zira specific MCP server, weather specific MCP server, Slack specific MCP server, so how it is working? Same question, same thought process. Hmm. Any guesses? Any answers for it? Anyone who can explain
The
this use
router
case?
function, basically the router function.
Have we provided any router function in agentic AI, Sanjay? Router, I think we have discussed in LandGraph in orchestration pipeline.
Oh, ma'am, actually, what I have understood up till now, like when we provide the prompt is divided into tokens.
Hmm.
So specific token will have specific, let's say, numeric value
Hmm.
where it will assemble it with the tokens.
Hmm.
Let's say Jira is a token, so it
Hmm.
will assemble according to it.
Hmm.
But what my confusion is, we have configured our MCP server, which
Hmm.
is running our internal tools.
Hmm.
Let's say we have created our own server for our own Jira purposes,
Hmm.
and also globally the Jira softwares and other stuffs are also there.
Hmm.
So how it is not getting confused, right? It should at first ideally what I think, since the global data set is available everywhere, it is vast than our internal tool. Why it is not choosing the outer global things, and why it is getting routed to our internal tools itself directly what we have configured?
It cannot choose it because over there personalization thing is coming up. When you're talking about GitHub, Slack, Zira, you're talking about your own profile which you're working with, and it doesn't have an access to it. So
Yes, yes.
LLM cannot handle it. Okay, let me talk about the flow. Let's talk about the flow, and I think, and this is the same mindset you have to approach for the previous discussions also. Instead of simply giving answers from pre-trained answers using LLM, it will look for any available tools from where it can give real time answers or accurate answers. That's true, what Arun has mentioned. But let me take one use case, and I think after that things will be more easy and simplify for you guys to understand. So this is a now full-fledged use case which is kind of a ending of this world of what we have learned in generative AI or AI engineering series. So over here, you will be able to observe that, let's say you start any AI application today, okay? And what is happening is that your AI application right now is, let's suppose, configured with a three MCP servers. Now you can imagine how the implementation will happen, because now we have discussed the flow of it. But you can imagine that there are three MCP servers which you have designed in this application. Okay. Let's take three MCP servers as maybe one is a Zira one, because that is the question which was asked. So there is a Jira specific MCP server. Then let's assume we will be having access of a GitHub specific MCP server. And let's suppose the third one is a Slack specific MCP server. Okay. Now, when an application start, your MCP client is directly connected with a Jira MCP server, GitHub MCP server, and Slack MCP server, right? So when we are saying AI based application, you can say that there is an LLM, and then there is a MCP client. And if there is something which is directly done by LLM will respond. Otherwise, MCP client will go and disturb these MCP servers depending upon the request. Now, before any user request is being processed, client genuinely needs something conceptually in the form of JSON. So it actually contains internally, we know that everything is processed in the form of a JSON files internally. For example, client will have something like a method, which is like, hey, you have the tools list, which is in the form of to each server. For example, Jira will respond something like this. Maybe there will be a name and a description. For us, it is a server, and for client, how the response will happen. For example, there is a create issue name, and whenever the specific thing will happen, there will be a description of this specific thing, something like this. Create a Jira specific issue. I hope everybody knows all these basic stuffs. Similarly, uh, when you are saying Jira MCP server, it contains further capabilities like it can create the issue, it can maybe search the issue. So obviously all these things you will define in the MCP server code. What exactly this Jira MCP server is doing for you. And client is having the entire information of this. For example, search issue, basically it will be responsible to search any Jira issues. Okay? So it contains the entire information, entire capabilities of what this Jira MCP server can do. Similarly, you can imagine now there is a GitHub repo, GitHub MCP server, sorry, which can have the access to create the PR. So it will create any pull request. Okay? And similarly, it can search the repo. So it can search any repositories. And similarly, you will be having a Slack specific MCP server. And maybe Slack MCP server is having the capabilities to, let's suppose, maybe send a message, which is a common use case in the Slack. So what it actually does is it will just help to send the Slack message. Okay. Okay. So these are the three different I would say MCP servers we have, and these are the capabilities, and the client is aware about these specific things. So what client has is these three things. Now, as soon as your AI application requires anything with respect to these 4 5 tasks, it will directly go towards that specific MCP server and use that specific tool. So you can imagine that indirectly you're providing the tools, which how many tools? Maybe 5 tools, which are creating an issue, searching the issue, creating a PR, searching a repo, and sending a message. Right? Now, these are the available tools that we have. Where does the LLM see these? Does LLM have the direct connection between these tools?
Yes, yes.
No,
No. Why?
Oh,
The
because
MCP
LLM.
client simply inject these tools definition into the model context. That's why it's called as model context protocol. Conceptually, yes, what you are saying, but to be direct way, if we have to say no. So you can imagine that we are providing a system prompt, something like this. If you remember in our agentic AI world, we provide the system prompt. So we say that, hey, you are an AI assistant. And somehow, indirectly via the MCP servers, in the intermediate part, you have a MCP client, which will use this MCP servers, and you will be having indirectly, I'm saying, flexibility to use a create issue, search issue, create PR, search repo, and send message specific capabilities. So as soon as you will write, user will write a query that create a zero ticket for the login bug, LLM will respond, I need to create a zero ticket. So I need a tool call. It will go to MCP client. MCP client will think that, okay, to create a zero ticket, which specific use case I have to use, which specific server I have to use, which specific server will have this capability. It will check, 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 check. It will say, okay, I have in MCP, zero MCP server, create issue. So it will go ahead and do that. Who will decide? Who will have this brain कि अच्छा मुझे create issue को use करना है? LLM. Now LLM will have a context of this model कि अच्छा मेरे पास में create issue करके है जो कि इस चीज के लिए responsible है तो I can use it. Now instead of producing any text, model produces something like this, and LLM will say to the client, क्योंकि ब्रेन तो LLM के पास है, क्लाइंट के पास कोई ब्रेन नहीं है, क्लाइंट के पास बस ये कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, और LLM और MCP क्लाइंट आपस में कनेक्टेड है. तो क्लाइंट के पास जो कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, LLM उसको समझेगा, पढ़ेगा, LLM बोलेगा कि क्रिएट इशू वाला जो टूल कॉल है या फिर जीरा जो इशू क्रिएट हो रहा है क्रिएट इशू से, उसको यूज करो, प्लीज एग्जीक्यूट द स्पेसिफिक टूल. तो MCP क्लाइंट क्या करेगा? MCP क्लाइंट तो उसके पास तो दिमाग ही नहीं है, LLM की बात सुनेगा and it will respond. It will forward that request to the Zira MCP server. Zira MCP server will execute that request. And that's how the things will work internally.
okay. Ma'am, one question means what I have learned so far is like, so MCP client will preload the context
Hmm.
with the uh, details of what servers he is able to connect,
Hmm.
and then he will directly manipulate our prompt, or means it is just a metadata it is going.
Exactly. That's correct.
Okay.
So there was one more question. What will happen if any of the server goes down before AI application gets response? Yeah, we will have a fallback for that. There will be a fallback mechanism which you can obviously apply in your code part to make sure that if you feel that, okay, this is the common thing which can happen and I don't want a failure in the specific aspect, you can handle it gracefully. That is a designing part which you can obviously manage at your end. Right? All good? And this is the overall talk about MCPs. I hope that you got the context. In the starting of the discussion, we have seen what exactly is MCP and which company designed it, why it was designed, what was the main reason, what was happening before MCP, what happened after MCP, what was the main problem which was faced by the employees, what are the core components of MCP. Then we have seen a practical implementation. Please do it via UV only, otherwise you will face a lot of difficulty in terms of implementation. uh, we have seen how the complete end-to-end flow looks like when we will for example ask any question which requires now internal tool usage. And that's the overall context of this entire series that we have covered up. I hope that you guys have enjoyed it, understood it, and gained a lot of knowledge. And now you can easily integrate whatever we have learned in our live discussions in your company's daily work implementation as well.